But I think there was some ulteriourness going on in the main event segment. And I'll tell you, everybody knows that I am not the president of the Plumber Moxley fan club, right? He's a one-note guy. We talk about Pockets being a one-joke guy. Moxley is if I can go out and cut a promo about how I'm the baddest son of a bitch in the game, and I drink blood and snap necks and crack bones and grind them to eat my bread and blah, blah, blah. And I'm addicted to pain. And then he can go out and have a match where he fights outside and he sells very little, including tire irons and hand grenades, and bleeds somehow. And everybody takes a big, dangerous bump. That's pretty much what you get. But this was supposed to be Jon Moxley, the AEW World Champion, selling the main event of their pay-per-view in 3 days from that. And much like CM Punk has done several times over the last year, that has led to big buy rates, because he goes out there and he sells the issue and he sells the match and he makes people more, and I'm not just going to say him, anybody that knows what the fuck they're doing and considers themselves a good promo. If you have this much time on a television program days before a pay-per-view and you do a promo and people are less interested in it, in the match, than they were before you did the promo, you did a shitty promo. And Moxley came out here, and I thought two things, and I'll give them both to you one at a time. The way this guy talks about himself and puts himself over in any situation, this promo or any other. If he didn't look like a fucking bum living under an overpass, and you couldn't readily see video of him doing death matches in a barn with convicted felons, and just physically he wasn't so sad, the way he talks, you would be intimidated by him. If he looked like Dr. Death Steve Williams and could do that promo, or more importantly, if Dr. Death Steve Williams was himself in every way except he could talk like Moxley, then he would have been the biggest box office attraction in wrestling. But Moxley, he talks about himself like $1 million. But unfortunately, because he doesn't fit the visual casting requirement, he's just a guy playing a part he's created in his mind. But when he's trying to sell a match, when he's trying to make his opponent sound dangerous, or the issue sound crucial or important, or the increase anticipation in a match, if this was an example of it, then he's the shits. Either that, or he's got the verbal equivalent, or had the verbal verbal equivalent of boo-boo job face. Because he talked about himself like $1 million, but when he got to MJF, yeah, you're a good singer. You've had one win in 6 months, took the summer off. You beat my young boy. Here's the thing. Once again, people around the world beat my young boy. That sounds vaguely pornographic and perverted, because this fucking clown, Moxley, is stuck in the mindset that everybody that he's speaking to on national American cable television knows that young boy is a preliminary or underneath or training talent in Japan. So a lot of people in fucking Dayton somewhere think Moxley's got a young boy. What? Anyway, he knocked the ladder match finish which rightfully so we did too, where MJF got the chip. But instead of saying you orchestrated this convoluted plot where you could get the chip and the chance at the title without ever doing any work or sacrificing any of your physical, he just said, yeah, they handed it to you. It was a shitty finish. And I'm not scared of you. So he just basically wiped his feet on MJF, his challenger in the main event and not in the way that the babyface normally downplays or runs down the heel. You're a coward, you're a crook, you're a liar. All unsavory qualities, but still one that Billy Badass might have. Still fight. He tore him down in the ultimate, isn't it ironic? Like rain on your wedding day. He actually said he sees MJF as a kid playing wrestler. This fucking plumber-looking, buggy-whipped armed, fucking pale-skinned, balding-headed, nondescript, potentially on the spectrum of some kind because of the things that he likes and the things that he involves himself in when he has options that he wouldn't have to involve himself in those things, except that he's demented. And he sees one of the 4 or 5 guys in the business right now that are the future of the wrestling industry as a kid playing wrestler, when in actuality, he's playing a part in his own rehabilitated mind that he's this tough guy. Does Moxley have an amateur wrestling background? Moxley comes from the mean streets of Cincinnati. Not exactly Hell's Kitchen, New York in the days of the Great Depression. I'm sure you can get in a lot of trouble in Cincinnati, but it's right up the road, and I haven't heard anybody talk about all the goddamn justifiable homicides or long prison stretches Mr. Moxley Good has fucking served. So the point is, the whole time Moxley was out there, he did his normal shit about himself, and then he tried to talk you out of being interested in the main event of the pay-per-view. And Brian Solomon, I swear I'm going to give you a chance to speak here in a second, but then here comes, just out of nowhere, Lee Moriarty and Stokely Hathaway and William, don't call me Billy Morrissey, and the other Page and the Guns, and they jump Moxley again, as they've been told not to do. The Firm, the group that MJF put together for 3 weeks until he fucking fired them. And then here comes MJF's music. And MJF is coming down the ramp with the game face on. And now what they've laid out is the heels are supposed to run at him, but he's supposed to be so determined he's just going to lay them all out, and he's going to get in the ring and take care of this situation. And the first ones to feed him are the Gun Boys. Guys, I love you. Y'all have a tremendous upside in this business, Gun Boys. You're running to somebody, it's faker than a fucking football bat to run to the side of them and bump underneath their fucking punch. Run and take the punch full on. And don't try to get so pretty, because it looked goofy. And then MJF got in the ring, kicked Morrissey in the balls, and then poked Page in the eyes, and Page was so fucking stupid when he got the eye poke, he didn't even know how to close his eyes and cover him up with his hands. And then he got the ball kick. Brian, you were in the building, and I'm about to tell everybody why this was the case, but I think you will testify that much as I saw on television, this big babyface save of world champion Jon Moxley did not bring the house down a la Stone Cold Steve Austin hitting the ring on Raw in 1999, did it?
No, not at all. It sounded like they were inside of a church or a cathedral or something. It was eerily quiet during a lot of it. And I have to say, first of all, a couple of things to preface is by this point, now I live 10 minutes away from the Total Mortgage Arena. So by this point, I was watching this in my living room because my son had enough. I'm not even kidding. We did not make it to the main event. I was watching it on TV because I zipped home. I really missed hardly anything, maybe a commercial break. And, I'm going to preface it with this. After your very tactful and restrained assessment, I will say that I'm usually and very often a fan of Moxley. And I know, you and Brian will want to kill me, but I am. I happen to like him a lot of the time, including his promos. I like I like him a lot. This was not his finest hour, and it was for the reasons that you're mentioning here, because again, I thought the same thing. He's doing this promo where he is shitting on the creative of the company. It's this meta promo. He's shitting on MJF, not in the way, like you said, that a babyface should shit on a heel. He's completely emasculating him and making him seem like he's not even a threat. And then he's sort of joking.
It seemed like he was almost telling everybody, well, if they're going to have this guy beat me, he's a flop and he doesn't deserve it. And he hadn't done what I've done. And just wait and see. It ain't going to work out. And then they'll have to come and call me back.
Yeah. And it was almost like he was trying to say in a coded way, hey, you know what? After I said all this, if and when he does beat me on Saturday, it's fake, because I could totally beat him.
Yes, I could totally beat him.
Right,
me at my amateur record of 0-0.
And then no one has even explained why, because I was scratching my head over this. Why would the firm even still be attacking Moxley if they're not even with MJF anymore?
They have no benefit to gain to it now.
What's their motivation? They were trying to protect him from
They should be saying, yeah, we hope Moxley kicks the shit out of you, you prick.
Right. Yeah, it was not well received. They were very quiet, again, for the promo. I mean, you could tell that even on TV. It was not, like I said, I like a lot of his promos. This was not a good promo.
Well, but here's the thing is when MJF comes down, and yes, this is one of those things that verbally somebody can lay it out and say, oh, boy, this is going to be great. And when you come down there, MJF, no, here's the thing. The group of heels is not over. Stokely Hathaway and the firm as a group, you're not talking about the Four Horsemen and J.J. Dillon in there beating somebody up within an inch of their life. You're talking about a group that's been together for 6 weeks that was all guys that have been there and they've done practically nothing with them or nothing that's gotten over. And suddenly they think they're going to be this destructive force when they're kicking the shit out of Moxley, who never sells anything anyway, and fucking, they don't see that as a threat. And then here comes MJF. It's not what the crowd want. They don't want to see MJF saving Jon Moxley. Even if it's a swerve where now he's going to still promo him and say, I hate you and I'm going to beat you and everything, but I want to do it myself. Whatever the fuck. The heel group wasn't over. It was confusing to the fans. The crowd doesn't want to see MJF save anybody except his own worthless ass. But then MJF does a promo. And then it started getting better because he fired him up. And he promoted Moxley as him. Now, meanwhile, the 5 heels, let's wait a minute. Both Guns, the other Page, Moriarty with the green hair, W. Morrissey, your great value Kevin Nash, and Stokely. So 6 adult men took 1 bump each for MJF and then just ran off and left. Okay, I'll buy that because now we get to see MJF and Moxley face to face. And MJF actually tried to put Plumber Moxley over a little bit in a heel fashion, but then was still making the point that he was going to take the belt and it was his time or whatever the fuck. And did you notice Moxley laying there selling the shit that he just got kicked out of him? He's laying there on the fucking bottom rope and he kind of looks up at Regal standing there in the ring and gives an eye roll while he's getting promoted by MJF. Again, more boo-boo face. Almost like somebody, you know what, Moxley, we're not only going to beat you, we're going to have him piss in your mouth while you're down there. Yeah. So he's eye rolling at MJF while he's cutting the promo. And also at that point in time, when MJF making a save hadn't gotten over, now MJF has to do this promo from scratch. And it's already been a long segment. And Moxley has to listen. Regal has to stand there. I mean, okay, at least finally MJF took his promo home. And Moxley starts talking again. Instead of leaving it with that, with MJF's go-home line, and then getting their face-to-face shot with Regal in the background, fucking Moxley starts in his nasally, meandering tone. He answers MJF back. He forgets what day the show is on. And this is whatever difference, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. And then when he finishes belittling MJF again, he flips him the microphone like he's a chump and starts to walk off away from him, and then realizes, oh God, they told me and the truck is expecting we should have a face-to-face shot at the end of this thing because Regal's got to be in between us for that 3 shot. So Moxley almost gets out of the ring and then turns back around and goes back up face-to-face so they can get that shot. Yeah. And the only thing, I will say this and I'm going to let you jump in, the only thing that was really positive in a business way about increasing interest in the pay-per-view tonight or Saturday night as it was on Wednesday when they did this was that last shot. There's Moxley and there's MJF face-to-face and there's Regal in the middle in the back of them. And that's where it hit me. If it ends up that Moxley loses the belt to MJF because Regal turns around and stabs Moxley in the back, then maybe this may have been worth it. But otherwise, anything else that happens besides Regal stabbing Moxley in the back and MJF winning has been a complete waste of fucking time. And because I don't know that just beating Moxley can make anybody or get anybody more over. I say if Regal does the dirty deed and you've got, that would be a real potential Bobby Heenan, Nick Bockwinkel combination, not like Twinkle Toes and Don Fallis, the invisible hand job, but 2 real professionals. That you'd have something to work with there. What do you think, Brian Solomon?
Well, we're going to be proven either right or wrong by the time this comes out, but I do think that is where they're going with this. I got that sense that it's going to be, this is like a Rock 1998 kind of thing where you think he's turning face, but he goes back to being an even worse heel than before. And then Regal kind of saying, yes, you did exactly what I wanted you to do all those years ago. You proved it to me. You are the villain. That kind of thing. And now he's going to be on his side. I mean, that would be the logical way to do it. I don't know if that's what they'll do, but that seems to be how they'll do it. I also noticed the confusion with Moxley, how he stepped back into the 3 shot, like you said. And what was hilarious to me was because, WWE does those show closing things all the time, that he couldn't even stand there long enough for the show to go off the air. It was almost like, when you watch this, that they're not just standing there looking at each other for hours. They eventually have to go home, but they usually wait till the show is over. Whereas here it was just like, all right, I'm done staring at you now. I kind of want to go take a shower. And he just left and walked off. Forgetting the day of the show. I mean, yes, I'm the WWE shill, but if someone had done that in a WWE promo, and I mean, I'm not even talking about. If
this had been a Smoky Mountain Wrestling television program, we were just running the Knoxville Coliseum that Friday night, and my main event had jacked off in an interview like this, and obviously showed that he didn't really want to be bothered and wasn't apparently real happy about whatever the fuck's going to go on. I'd have fired his ass.
Yeah, and it's not even a Vince thing to me. I think even I can confidently say, having spent time around both of them, I think you'd see this even under Triple H, where if somebody did that during a WWE go-home show towards a pay-per-view, I'm not saying they'd be fired for it, but there would be hell to pay. I mean, that's a major no-no, and there's a reason you never see it, because people know that that's not something you do. It sounds like something small, but it undermined the whole thing. It forced MJF to break character for a split second. It was really just a major faux pas, shall we say.